Now on BBC One, the Tea Time News with Jane Hill.
10 people have been killed after a pickup truck was driven into crowds in the US city of New Orleans. It happened as people were out celebrating the new year. Police say it was a deliberate act.
He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
The FBI says it's investigating the attack as terrorism. Also on the programme. A major incident is declared in Greater Manchester after torrential rain caused severe flooding. There are 80 flood warnings across the UK. Small boat crossings. Nearly 37,000 people crossed the English Channel last year, up 25% on the year before. Testing the DNA of ancient bones, how a new research method could revolutionise our understanding of British history. And come on in, the water's freezing. Seeing in the new year with a traditional dip. Hello, good afternoon. At least 10 people have been killed in the US city of New Orleans when a man drove a pickup truck into a large crowd before opening fire. More than 35 other people were wounded, including 2 police officers who were shot. The authorities say the suspect is dead and they're describing the incident as an act of terrorism. The attack happened in the French Quarter of the city, popular with tourists, where people were celebrating the new year in the early hours of the morning. Tom Bateman sent us the latest.
Police raced to the scene just after 3 a.m. on New Orleans' Bourbon Street, a historic tourist district packed with bars and music venues. The night had been filled with people out for New Year's Eve. Officers say a man in a pickup truck ploughed into a crowd, trying to run over as many people as he could. He then shot at police, who fired back and killed him.
It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
We heard loud banging sounds coming up. We're in our room just pretty much closing down for the evening at the end of all the events and everything. And when we looked out the window, we noticed there was a lot of bodies laying on the ground. Being a Marine Corps vet, it felt like, back in Iraq again. Just jumping right in, just seeing the people and everything laying down, not knowing exactly what to do.
Dozens were wounded, including 2 police officers who were shot. They're all being treated in several of the city's hospitals. Police evacuated a wide area, saying they were checking for possible explosive devices before carrying out controlled explosions.
What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
Police have released few details about the perpetrator, other than saying he deliberately ran into the crowds before opening fire. The FBI says it is investigating the attack as an act of terrorism, as they scour the scene for clues and try to trace the attacker's background. In the last hour, President Biden gave his reaction.
I've spoken to every member of the agency, from the CIA to our national security team, to our FBI, NSC, and we're gathering all the, and I spent a lot of time with the government, with the mayor.
What was your reaction when you heard what happened?
Well, the reaction was one of anger and frustration. Thank you.
He says the White House is offering its support to the city, which is now ushering in the new year, grieving its dead, and praying for the wounded. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Washington.
Well, Anna Adams is in New Orleans for us tonight. Anna, describe what you've been seeing and hearing and the impact that this has had on the city.
Well, I'm here in the centre of town. We've got Canal Street, which is the main thoroughfare here in the city, and Bourbon Street, which is where this happened. I don't know if you can see behind me, there are still 3 coroner's vans, and there are still bodies there on Bourbon Street, which are waiting to be removed. It's still an active crime scene, so we're told the bodies will have to stay there while this is investigated. It's an incredibly brazen attack. I hate to use the word the Big Easy, but that's what the city is known as. It's the Big Easy. And to have such a brazen attack here at a night that was full of people in the streets, there were people piled along all of these streets, and there were parades during the day. It's just an incredibly audacious attack in a city that really does rely on tourism and tourist dollars. The city was at 90% capacity for the football match that was about to happen tonight and is still scheduled to happen. So you can only imagine the impact this has had. And New Orleans is a city that does bounce back, but it's also a city that's beset with lots of problems. There's a crime problem, as is in much of the US, but this is a city that really relies on tourist dollars. And the question here for everyone today is, will the city now be able to bounce back from this?
Anna, thank you. Anna Adams there in New Orleans. Greater Manchester Police has declared a major incident after widespread flooding caused by heavy rain. Bolton, Wigan and Stockport are among the worst affected areas. Emergency crews are out helping to deal with submerged vehicles and damaged properties. Yunus Muller has this report.
Heavy rain and wind to bring in the new year and widespread flooding. In Greater Manchester, a major incident was declared. Meadow Mill in Stockport has more than 200 apartments. Outside, vehicles were submerged in water. Inside, residents like Elle Henderson trapped without running water or power.
We woke up, I think it was about 6:30 this morning, to just a complete swimming pool outside. What should be my car park is now essentially the River Mersey. So that wasn't a nice thing to wake up to on the 1st of January, to be honest.
Major roads have been flooded. This was the relief road to Manchester Airport. Some had to be rescued. Part of the M56 and the M60 were also closed. Almost a month's worth of rain has fallen in parts of the northwest in the last 48 hours, and support is being given to anyone here who needs emergency accommodation. River levels are running high. This was the River Bain in Leyburn in North Yorkshire. In Cheshire, homeowners in Lymm were flooded despite defences being in place.
There's absolutely nothing you can do. It just comes in and it just comes through the floor, and you just watch it and watch it and watch it. And it's just awful.
Across the region, motorists have had to abandon their vehicles. This wasn't the start to 2025 that many had hoped for.
Tonight, roads, rail and tram lines here in Greater Manchester are still severely affected by the flooding, and this is still a major incident. It is still raining and there are still a number of flood warnings in place. The advice for anyone going out is to stay away from flood water and not to drive through flood water.
Yunus, thank you. Yunus Muller there. Nearly 37,000 people crossed the English Channel in small boats in 2024, according to new figures from the Home Office. The figure is the second highest on record and an increase of 25% on the previous year. 2024 was also the deadliest on record, with at least 77 people dying as they attempted the crossing, as Simon Jones reports.
The boats have been getting bigger, with more and more people dangerously packed onto them, risking their lives in the world's busiest shipping lane with the goal of reaching the UK. This was Christmas Day, where more than 450 migrants made the crossing.
To see that many people, they was sitting all around the edge, all down for the middle. They had their feet, some of them dragging in the water. So it was massively overloaded. And we actually stopped our engines and sort of sat in that position, just watching that, just to make sure that nothing, had sort of gone wrong.
In 2024, a total of 36,816 people reached the UK on small boats. That represents an increase of 25% on 2023, though it's a fall of 20% on 2022. The mantra of the Conservative government, stopping the boats, has been replaced by the Labour government with a promise to smash the gangs organising the crossings. It's here at the Home Office that the daily figures for arrivals are poured over. Labour says the previous Conservative government left an appalling legacy of broken border security, allowing criminal gangs to take hold. The Conservatives say that Labour's decision to scrap the plan to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda means there's effectively no deterrent. Last year was the deadliest on record for crossings. The French authorities say more than 75 people lost their lives. At least 3 people died on Sunday when their boat got into difficulty off the coast of northern France.
What the government needs to do is not just try and smash the gangs through enforcement activity. It needs to continue to do that, but also critically put in place legal routes so that people fleeing the war in Sudan, for example, or tyrannical rule in Afghanistan are able to come here safely without having to take dangerous crossings.
You're looking out of here at these.
The government says it's investing in its new border security command with the latest tech and will stop at nothing to bring smugglers to justice. It won't put a timescale on when it expects to see results, but the crossings are likely to be a big political issue once again this year, even though the numbers making journeys this way across the Channel are far smaller than the legal migration figures. Simon Jones, BBC News.
The price of gas and electricity rises for the majority of British households from today. The energy price cap has gone up by 1.2%, taking the average dual fuel bill to £1,738 a year. The cap affects 26 million households in England, Wales and Scotland. Our cost of living correspondent Coletta Smith reports from Blackpool, where she's been getting advice from people who try to help others reduce their bills.
This is a town that knows a thing or two about energy. Millions of light bulbs brighten up a gloomy evening and put a smile on anyone's face.
Today's price rise feels like a real kick in the teeth because it's at the point of the year where we all need our lights on and our heating on more often. But there are things that you can do in your household to make sure that you keep on top of those energy bills for the year ahead.
Across Blackpool in the Grange Community Centre, they're doing just that, because this is not any old doctor's appointment.
Kettle's always on, and that's wastes a lot of money, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It's a session with a green doctor. They're helping thousands of people on lower incomes save energy and cut their bills. And they're seeing a big change.
A lot of people are in debt now. A lot of people just don't have the money to pay for the bills. They need to prioritise food.
But James says the small tweaks they give out can help save cash.
My tip for this winter is to use radiator foil on all radiators in the property to help reflect the heat back into the room.
Although it's going up today, the price of gas and electricity is cheaper than 2 years ago. So there are now deals on offer which are cheaper than the price cap. Sean's been telling everyone to check that they're on the cheapest tariff.
I would advise people to, if they can get online, go online and compare prices. Otherwise, ring up your energy provider and ask them what you are presently paying. If you are unsure, ring another energy provider and compare. And then even from having those two comparisons, you'll be able to know what sort of price you may be able to get.
Brenda knows how to spin out a tight budget, and she says there are crucial pounds to be saved each week in your kitchen.
My top tip, get yourself a steamer where you put your potatoes in one pot and your veg in the other 2 pots. No condensation, no using of the 4 rings on your cooker.
Whatever your situation, in the coldest months, getting out is often better than staying in.
My top tip is to come out, find your local community centre, use that space to stay warm, get connected with people and keep your heating off at home.
Energy prices are expected to stay around this level over the next year. So whether you're switching your tariff or your light bulbs, making a change now could put more cash in your pockets for the rest of the year. Coletta Smith, BBC News in Blackpool.
Bus passengers in England can be charged £3 per single journey from today, a rise of 50% on the previous cap of £2. The government says the increase is to help subsidise the price of longer journeys. The new fare cap will run all year at a cost of £151 million. Just to bring you an update on our main story here tonight, that attack, of course, in New Orleans. 10 people killed in that attack. In the last few minutes, according to a number of US media sources, including our US partners, CBS News, the suspect has been named as Shamsuddin Jabbar. That has emerged just in the last few minutes, and the FBI treating that attack as an act of terrorism. Now, a new DNA technique is being used to re-examine key moments from Britain's history. Researchers are now able to study changes to DNA in human bones that are hundreds of years old. The results can show them where groups of people came from and how they interacted with the local population. One leading historian has told BBC News it will revolutionise our understanding of history. Here's our science correspondent, Palab Ghosh.
Poking away in the ear socket of a small skull fragment. It's from someone who lived more than 1,500 years ago in Yorkshire. The scientists are looking for a tiny bone that's the best preserved bit of all. And using a new technique, they can find out more about the individual and where their ancestors came from.
We want to understand many of these different epochs in British history, from the Roman period to when the people referred to as the Anglo-Saxons arrived, through the Viking Age period, and see how all of this shaped the ancestry and diversity of the nation.
Professor Skoglund is working with archaeologists. Something there as well. Here in the mud, carefully sifting through bones at an Anglo-Saxon burial site in Poulton in Cheshire. They find a skull and other human remains. The DNA they gather from them will tell them so much more about Britain's history.
It's going to be revolutionary. This method will allow us to see the type of relations that are being formed with the native population. Are they cooperative? Is there interbreeding? Are a lot of native sub-Romano Brits able to make their way into the elite?
DNA is a spirally molecule that can be read like a barcode, and it changes over generations. So far, scientists have been able to identify only very big changes that take place over thousands of years. For example, the physical changes that take place as a result of human evolution. But now, they've been able to identify more recent changes that take place over hundreds of years. So they can now tell when and how different groups of people migrated and how they interacted with native populations.
Well, we've been good at the deep time past, or sort of average time past. Now it's giving us that opportunity to look at more recent humans and people and community and migration. And it's been a big gap for us. Although we could look at their DNA, we couldn't really look that closely into their ancestry. It didn't make as much sense. It was too much of a mishmash.
There are thousands of human remains in Britain's museums to analyse. Each has their own tale to tell. The new discovery, published in the journal Nature, will enable scientists to hear their stories and rewrite the history books. Palab Ghosh, BBC News.
Now, the bad weather has meant several traditional New Year's Day outdoor swims have been cancelled, but not in Edinburgh. These hardy swimmers braved the annual Luneduk, as it's known, plunging into the Firth of Forth estuary. The tradition was started 38 years ago, and today's cold conditions didn't deter this group from keeping it going. And in Newquay, in Cornwall as well, nothing kept what looks like a large crowd from taking their New Year's Day dip. I am not nearly brave enough for that. Let's catch up with the weather. Here's Ben Rich. Hello.
I'm glad I had to come to work, Jane. I couldn't make it down to that dip, unfortunately. Yes, the weather obviously making headlines today, and we have seen some significant flooding impacts, as we've heard earlier on in the bulletin. Some beautiful scenes, though, in North Wales. And the rain that brought the flooding today is also ushering in a big change in the feel of the weather. The rain clearing away southwards. That's a weather front. And behind it, we are all getting into some much colder air. You really will feel the difference over the next couple of days. And yes, we have seen some snow in places across the north of the UK, with the skies clearing right now. Where we've had rain or snow falling today, I think we could well see some quite widespread ice to take us into tomorrow morning. Some wintry showers, particularly around the coasts, frequent snow showers in the north of Scotland, and those temperatures widely below freezing. Could see values a little bit lower than this out in the countryside as we start tomorrow morning. So if you are back to work tomorrow, out and about early, take care with those those icy conditions, but a lot of sunshine overhead. A nice looking day. Some wintry showers, particularly around western and eastern coasts. Frequent snow showers in parts of northern Scotland. Still quite windy up towards the northeast. But these are the afternoon highs. 2 to 6 degrees at best. Friday, another cold feeling day. Quite a lot of sunshine around, but again, we will see some wintry showers. Those showers, a mix of rain, sleet and snow. But if you have travel plans for the weekend, it is worth staying in touch with the forecast. Low pressure moving into cold air with the risk of rain, strong winds, but possibly some significant snow. Jane.
Ben, thank you very much. And that is it from the team for now. Now we'll catch up with our colleagues for the latest wherever you are. From everyone here, have a good evening. Bye-bye.